Turbo. Hey guys, and welcome back to the final part of our platformer YouTube tutorial. My name is Chris. We'll be going over in this video just the general polish of a platformer game, and specifically our platformer template here. We left off with having collision and gravity and movement come to life in our game. So you can see that he moves around here, I can jump, I can collide with things. There is a few quality of life improvements that have become a staple in video games over the past decade or whatnot, and those few things would be holding down the jump to get a stronger jump force. Another thing is a Coyote timer. If anyone ever watched like Roadrunner or Wile E. Coyote as a kid, he can run off cliffs and he doesn't actually fall until he realizes that he is off the cliff. So basically, what's really frustrating for some players in platformers is when they feel like they're timing a jump for when they get to the very edge of a platform like this. A player would think that they can make this jump, but actually they clicked space when they got here instead of right here, and because of that they're unable to jump, they just fall and they do something like that. So when the player is like this, when they are no longer touching the platform and they are suspended in air, they can still have that jump input to make a jump. So Coyote timer is really important in that regard. It allows a player to make a jump rather than go like that and fail a jump that they were trying to make, but they thought that they got, just because of how quickly inputs happen and how quickly a game updates. Those two things are pretty big in the polish network. Let's go over, so this is going to be part 4 on the written guide. If you've been following through, we are going to need to add in some constant values to start us off. So here's our code of our librs before. We're going to take these constant values, back them out, and add in the new ones. But before I do that, I want to highlight kind of what the new constant values are. So we have tile size, we have gravity, and then what we're adding in, I believe, is min jump force, max jump force, player jump duration, and Coyote timer. So if I go over here and I get rid of all of these, boom, yep. So player min jump force, player max jump force, player jump power duration, and Coyote timer have all been added in now. And I'll just give it one more space here just for the sake of our document looking better. And then now we're going to do a pretty vast update to our player struct and our player imply. Now the player struct here, I'll use this web page to kind of go over a lot of changes, but let's go down to our player struct. So our player struct happens right here. The first change that's happening to this is we're adding in more values. So we have x, y, speed x, speed y, max gravity, is falling, is facing left, and is landed. Those are all of the data variables that we are storing in our struct. Now, on top of all of that, we are going to add in Coyote timer and is powering jump. So those will be changed. We'll be adding those in. And now we have an imply. So we have our function new. Our function new needs to get changed because we updated our struct. So we need to add in those variables. So that will get changed. On top of that, we are now going to have a little bit of different, so some little differences happening in our handle input, and then in our handle input function, and then same thing with our check collision function. There will be some changes there. And then our update position is not going to change. Our draw function is not going to change. So let's go over what these changes are inside of handle input. So if I go back over here and I look at the handle input that we had before, we start off with letting GP equal gamepad, and then we go straight into the up just pressed, or start just pressed. So basically an upward movement with the input. See what happens here. So we go GP equal, and then we do up, just press, and then now we have additional checks. So we want it to check is landed or Coyote timer And then on top of that, we want it to check this y speed value. So before we just had a check on up or space. So we had a check on if we clicked one of these two buttons, plus we wanted the character to be is landed. Now we have a check that happens where it's up or space still, but now it is either is landed or Coyote timer. So up or space, landed or timer, and then on top of all of that, we have the y speed being equal to or less than 0. So we have 3 checks happening with 2 of the checks interchangeable. The up or the space is interchangeable. You can click either of those. And then the is landed or the Coyote timer has to be greater than 0. So that is what's happening now for our up. And then we have another if statement here where we're saying if you are not powering jump, then we're going to add the minimum jump force to the player speed, and then is powering jump equals true. So basically what this is doing right here, if you're not powering jump, you did the minimum jump force and you are now powering your jump. Now we have an alternative function here where it's saying if you're powering your jump, up was pressed, or start, so up or space, and your speed is less than 0, so your y speed is less than 0, then it's going to allow you to kind of power your jump. Ultimately, what's going on here is you have one of 2 things that can happen. You have the minimum one where you didn't hold down the button, so it just dinked you, and you have the one where you're holding down the button, so it's going to keep performing this while you're holding down that button. And that's why we have pressed right here instead of just pressed. And y speed less than 0 means going up. So basically you have to be in motion going up and holding down one of these 2 buttons to be powering that jump. And not this variable, this is just the variable, but basically in order to be powering the jump, this all needs to be true. And what it's going to do here, the mathematical side of things, is you're going to take the y speed and you're going to keep subtracting, so keep going up, the player max jump force minus the player min jump force, and then it's going to be divided by the jump duration. And all this is going to happen as an F32. And then down here, like once that is done, we set powering jump to false, and we have an else statement here. What's going to happen is the is powering jump is going to be false. So basically, there's a lot of what's like going on in these 2 functions. Just know that we have now changed our handle input to have the minimum tap and the holding down continual rise. And we have a little bit of a change to our clamp here because we got rid of player jump force and now we have player max jump force. So there will be a little bit of a change happening on that. And I'm pretty sure you can see that right here. So we had player jump force before, now it's player max jump force. So, and then right here it sneaks in, this is our Coyote timer. If self.Coyote timer is greater than 0, we're going to subtract 1 from that Coyote timer. Other than that, so if the function handle input messed with our jump force, then the function check collision is going to mess with the Coyote timer. So there will be changes here to the Coyote timer. Let's check out and see how this is different. So we have the function check collision tilemap. It's going to start off with this. Let's see how that differs from what we have. So in ours, we have the speed y being greater than 0. It's checking the downward collision. We have an upward collision, a rightward collision, and a leftward collision. So the downward collision is going to have our Coyote timer. So what this is a check for the collision of when we are standing on something. So what's happening here is we added, I believe, an extra little bit here. So to our downward collision, we have an else if is landed kind of going on here. So now what we have is on top of that is landed else if statement, we're adding in this right here. The Coyote timer is equal to the player Coyote timer duration. Our Coyote timer, which is 0, is going to be equal to 3 whenever there is a downward collision. So just so it's more noticeable, I'm going to change that to like 10, and we'll take a look at that just so you can see. But this downward collision is really all that's getting changed in the Tilemap collision. So let's add in that player imply. So here's our new player imply. We're going to go over here and we're going to get rid of all of this. So we're going to get rid of our player struct, and we're going to get rid of our player imply. So from here, from line 65 on my, all the way down to, it ends with the draw function. So right here, right above line 183. So get rid of all of that. My player is essentially gone, and then I'm going to paste this in. And now I'm going to save it, and I'm going to see if I made any mistakes and my game reloaded. So I don't think I did. Now let's mess around with it. So if I click, yep, I can already jump. I can hardly jump onto this one. So if I tap it, I do a tiny jump. If I hold it down, I can jump all the way up there. I think I can actually get onto this platform now. So now I can jump all the way up there. If I tap it, I do a little tiny jump. So big jump, little jump. So all that is based off of that handle input function. Now the Coyote timer is a little bit harder to see. If I walk off, I don't really start falling until later. So do you see how I can kind of jump even when I'm in the middle of the air there? Let's bump up that Coyote timer. So in my code right over here, the constant is Coyote timer duration 3. Change this to like 10. I'm going to save it real quick. Now my game is loaded. So now do you see how I can walk even further off now? I might even be able to can almost make that jump. But ultimately, that is the full tutorial of this platformer write-up. So join our Discord. That's where you get involved. That's where you get your questions answered. That's how you make games fast with Turbo. Join our Discord. Follow our Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube, leave a comment, like this video if it helped you out. My name's Chris. This has been our 3-part video series of how to kind of set up and make a platformer game. I hope it helps you guys get started with your own platformers. If you don't have any, if you guys develop questions while you are working on this, feel free to @ me. I go by Stoffy in the Discord, and I'll be happy to help you out with stuff. Guys, have a great rest of your day. Keep making games fast with Turbo. Remember, it is better to make games fast than make a ton of games fast than to get stuck on one game and have just this grand idea that you never complete. Make a lot of games, make them fast. That's what Turbo's for. That's why we're here to help you. Take care, guys.